Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star 2 episode number 61 based on novel. So let's start. Information about a conflict in the ancient Yangfeng Kingdom's capital city of Chu first spread throughout the city, and then spread throughout the entire origin continent in a short period of time. Has another chaos realm transcendent being emerged from the ancient country of Yangfeng? The 71st chaos realm transcendent in the entire origin continent. Great sage Luo He? Many forces in the origin continent, both overt and covert, paying close attention to this information. Because the chaos transcendent can already be regarded as an ordinary god king. In terms of quantity, chaos transcendent is even rarer than god king. The name of the great sage Luo He was recorded in many cases in many countries, and everything became a chaos mirror, transcending the Princess of Yu. When Yu Shuai-Tianyu received the news, he was also a little confused. When he lived in seclusion in Huyang City, he only showed the strength of the eternal true God. Now that they have gone to Chudu, they have become chaos realm transcendents. No wonder they did not take my father as their master. Princess has understood that Chaos Realm transcendents are equal to ordinary god kings and are more eager to be defeated by the Emperor. Of course, the strong men of the entire origin continent most want to take the ancestors of the two ancient countries as their masters, but the ancestors of the two ancient countries only appear once in a long time. Even some ancient god kings find it difficult to meet him, let alone become his apprentice. The level of Emperor is more common in the origin continent. How could this great sage be a chaos realm transcendent? When Liu Yinhu heard the news, he was also a little shocked. The last time he fought with me, he only showed the peak strength of the chaos realm and did not destroy my true body. Was he deliberately hiding his strength, or did he make a breakthrough after arriving in Chudu? Liu Yinhu was a little panicked. It was natural to have a headache with an enemy who was a chaos realm transcendent. His city, Huyang City, was right next to my fiefdom. Liu Yinhu's mind was a little confused, ha ha ha. On the other hand, Jiu Jianghu was overjoyed after receiving the news. Brother Luo He had actually become a chaos realm transcendent. Giving him a sheep protection city was a great gift, it was great. His fiefdom was stable in the future, and he also had a strong Phi. The gap between the top of chaos and the peak of chaos was not too big. For example, the Jiujiang monkey could use some moves to fight with the Liuying monkey and even escape, but there is indeed a huge gap between the peak of the Chaos realm and the Chaos Transcendence realm. This is a qualitative change. Under normal circumstances, those who transcend the Chaos realm use the power of Hunyuan or Hunyuan materials to cultivate some special inheritances, which allows them to possess the strength of a god king, which can completely crush the peak of the Chaos realm. Luo Feng was able to achieve this thanks to his ability of being invisible and formless. The ancient Thunder Kingdom is the other of the two core forces on the origin continent. Nearly half of the marginal countries have completely surrendered to the ancient Thunder Kingdom. In these marginal countries, there is no Flame Wind Guild, only the Thunder Chamber of Commerce. A city on the border of the ancient country of Thunder. Boom boom. A burly man with green scaly wings, wearing heavy armor, was riding a Chaos Realm monster that emitted endless cold air. He led his personal guards to descend from the sky and headed straight for the City Lord's mansion. City Lord. The subordinates in the City Lord's mansion saluted respectfully when they saw the burly man. This person is the most respected person in the entire city, the City Lord, Zhuo Shanjin. Hurry up and prepare some food and drinks. The burly man ordered and walked towards the hall. The Chaos Realm beast also flew to its own territory in the City Lord's mansion. Inside the palace hall, the burly man retracted his huge wings, and his invisible power naturally spread out. His eyes were deep, but the corners of his mouth were slightly upturned, with a smile. My disciple's talent is really amazing. He has only been in the origin continent for more than 30 centuries, but he has already reached the Chaos Realm. The burly man thought, his talent and potential far exceeds mine. There is hope for revenge, there is hope for revenge, thought the burly man. He was the reincarnated hermit who came to the origin continent. As Luo Feng's master, based on some detailed information about Luo He, such as the time when he emerged in the origin continent and the time when Luo Feng entered the reincarnation, the weapons he used. His divine body was as high as the heaven and earth. There were very few relatives and friends around him named Yuan. Based on this information, Swashanka could easily infer that Luo He was Luo Feng. Although my greatest hope is placed on my disciples, I have to fight hard myself. At least if I really fight against the food nation in the future, I will not become a burden to my disciples. It would be best if I can contain the food nation a little. The burly man thought, in the past, I followed the ancient Flame Wind Nation, and in this life, I will be a guest official of the ancient Thunder Nation. The Thunder Ancient Country should have some inheritance that is different from the Flame Wind Ancient Country. I hope that in this life, I can make further progress in strength. Swashanka knew very well that he had escaped from the pursuit of the three kings of Sha country by relying on his ability to save his life. But to take revenge, it was not enough to just rely on the ability to save his life, he had to have a fundamental breakthrough in strength. The ancient country of thunder is best at practicing the Han Yuan bloodline. In this life, I will try to take this path. The hermit knew that this path was equally difficult and could even lead to insanity. But there was no doubt that once this path was successful, the strength would be terrifying. The ancient beings of the Thunder Ancient Country were no less powerful than the imperial army of the Flame Wind Ancient Country. The name of the great sage Luo He spread throughout the origin continent for the first time. In Chudu, there are many people who want to visit and make friends with Luo Feng, and some even want to become his apprentice. But Luo Feng had no intention of taking in another disciple. The first disciple accepted in the origin continent was taught by Morosa. I can't accept another disciple and let Morosa teach him again, right? Master, there are many people inviting disciples recently. Mo Yu Qingyang looked at Luo Feng. Can the disciple go out? If you want to go out, go out. Luo Feng nodded. The time for cultivation in the future will be long. You can decide what friends to make and what to do. Of course, you have to bear the corresponding consequences for your own decisions. Mo Yu Qingyang seemed to be thinking about something, and immediately responded, disciple understands. Luo Feng immediately turned around and left. Qingyang. Morosa said, the waters of Chudu are very deep. You are a little guy of the void true God. I am afraid you are not aware of the tricks of illusion and other means. When you go out recently, I will go with you. Morosa was still quite worried about Mo Yu Qingyang. He had spent much more effort than Luo Feng in teaching his disciples. Great. Mo Yu Qingyang also breathed a sigh of relief. He had been practicing in the cave and felt suffocated. He was also curious about the super-prosperous city of Chudu, which ranked first in the entire origin continent. Original Ancestor also received invitations from some forces in Chudu. The original ancestor naturally accepted all invitations and leisurely accepted them. Every time he attended, it was just his illusory clone. His illusory clone is a body that is almost identical to his real body, except that it does not have the heart of a true god. Luo Feng's cave, the quiet room, the space inside the Star Tower. As a Chaos Realm transcendent, Luo Feng ignored the visits from most of the forces in Chu City so that he could focus on his cultivation. Brother Luo He. Di Chuyu contacted the messenger. I have carefully checked some tasks that have great merits. They are all very difficult and no guest official has been able to complete them for a long time. You can take a look first. Soon. Di Chuyu sent a bunch of detailed information about the mission. Luo Feng immediately checked the first task and completely killed the Chaos Realm, Sayu City Lord. The Lord of Desire is at the peak of the Chaos Realm. He is a city lord in the ancient country of Thunder. During his travels around the world, he manipulated the desires of many creatures and caused many of them to die. Among them were 3 eternal true gods of the royal family of the ancient country of Flame Wind. After the Lord of Sayu City realized the identity of the deceased, he immediately defected to the ancient kingdom of Thunder. This task is worth 200,000 merits. Completely kill? Luo Feng frowned. According to the mission requirements, the so-called complete kill means that the enemy must completely disappear from the origin continent and there will be no cause or effect for him anymore. It is difficult to determine whether the target is reincarnated. After all, as long as the reincarnation is kept secret, no one can tell. Lord Sayu is good at manipulating minds, and his mind and will have definitely entered the God King level according to the information. Luo Feng thought to himself, I am at the second level of God King, and my mind and will may be only slightly stronger than his. Even if I use the legend technique, I can't kill him. At the peak of the Chaos Realm, after countless years of cultivation, their minds and wills have been honed to be very powerful, and they can even create their own secret willpower techniques. It is extremely difficult to kill them with willpower alone. There are quite a few bounty missions. Luo Feng discovered that there were quite a few bounties for Chaos Realm Masters, and none of them had been completed for a long time. On the one hand, the Emperor's disdain to deal with the weak Chaos Realm. Even though the Chaos Realm might have killed a few eternal true gods of the royal family, or stolen some rare treasures and been discovered, the Emperor was simply too lazy to care about these trivial matters. Some God Kings can kill those in the Chaos Realm, but as long as the opponent's consciousness is clear for a moment, he can be reincarnated directly, which means there will be an additional powerful enemy in the dark. The God King is not afraid of the Chaos Realm, but what about the children and relatives and friends who care about him? Therefore, killing Chaos Realm is indeed a very troublesome task. Few people are willing to take on missions to kill Chaos Realm people. Luo Feng thought, it will be much more difficult to deal with the Lord of Food Nation in the future. After becoming a guest official in the Chaos Realm, Di Chuyu, a first-class marquis, also gave Luo Feng a large amount of detailed information about the entire origin continent. Luo Feng also had a deeper understanding of the strength of the three kings of Shi Kingdom. The Lord of Jiankun of the Food Kingdom is a second-level God King. As a guest of the ancient Yangfeng Kingdom, he has also cultivated a powerful inheritance and is extremely powerful. There are not many people in the entire origin continent who are stronger than him, let alone the ability to protect his life. Even if the Emperor took action, he could suppress it directly, and the Lord of Jiankun State did not dare to kill the other party completely. Even the ancestor of the Snow Realm, who is at the first level of the God King realm and has committed heinous crimes, can survive to this day, which shows the survival ability of these ancient beings. The stronger the strength, the more mysterious and unpredictable the various life-saving abilities are. I want to completely kill the Jiankun King of the Food Kingdom, and it would be best if he could not be reincarnated. What level of strength do I need to have? Luo Feng shook his head lightly. It's still a long way from me. These troublesome tasks that require high merit, in addition to hunting down some people in the Chaos Realm, tasks related to the ancient Kingdom of Thunder. For example, in the mission of seizing the Qianyin fruit, the Emperor Chu clan is willing to buy each Qianyin fruit with 10,000 merits, the more the better, there is no upper limit. In the border area adjacent to the two ancient countries, there is a Qianyin fruit tree which is now in the ripening period, and it is estimated that thousands of fruits will mature one after another. The Thunder ancient country has arranged a powerful formation, and the garrison leader is a Chaos Realm transcendent. The two ancient countries occupy the most prosperous core area of the origin continent. Many rare treasures nurtured by heaven and earth are also monopolized by the two ancient countries. They also attack each other and compete for each other's treasures. Luo Feng looked at these tasks. Like Qianxu stone essence, it ranks low among the resources of the two ancient countries, and only occasionally there are bold people who steal it. For something as precious as the Qianyin fruit, even the God King would not dare to steal it easily. Usually, the two ancient countries would rob each other. These troublesome tasks are divided into three categories, namely bounty tasks, guarding tasks, and treasure-grabbing tasks. Luo Feng looked at the bounty tasks, and found it difficult to kill them completely. If the opponent was reincarnated, there would be an additional hidden enemy. The garrison mission takes a long time. A treasure hunting mission, extremely dangerous. Luo Feng thought about it. He can bully the weak by using force to break the law. The mission of guarding is very rewarding. The mission of grabbing treasure is likely to encounter opponents of the same level. Those Chaos Realm transcendents are much higher in realm than oneself, and their methods are also mysterious. Compared to other Chaos Realm transcendents, I can only rush around recklessly and can be easily fooled. I still need to accumulate more experience. Luo Feng looked at these tasks and only the bounty tasks were the most suitable for me. Even goals with strong spiritual will are abandoned. Choose the one with the weaker mind and will. Luo Feng looked at these bounty missions and finally set his sights on one: kill the Great Sage Beiyu completely. The Great Sage Beiyu has not offended the ancient country of Yangfeng. The reason why he was offered a reward is because he has a hobby, which is to regard practitioners as beautiful. In his territory, he deliberately built many ordinary cities for practitioners to live in. Occasionally, he would devour all the practitioners in an ordinary city. He would not eat them all at once, but eat them slowly. Because his territory was not big enough and he could not eat to his heart's content, he would occasionally go to other places to eat. Go out and eat him to your heart's content. One bite can be a large city creature. However, this kind of behavior would also anger the owner of the fiefdom. Beiyu Daosheng did not dare to make too many enemies and had to control the number of times. His behavior eventually put him on the bounty list of the Yangfeng ancient country. His real body has been killed several times. But he is still alive and well, and this mission is worth 100,000 merits. This Beiyu Great Sage Luo Feng still remembers that when he was fighting against Mai Wuchi in Huyang City, Mai Wuchi mentioned this Beiyu Great Sage who swallowed up a large city in one gulp. He is at the top level of the Chaos Realm. It is said that he is also practicing the origin of life and has a strong ability to protect his life. Luo Feng looked at the information. In Luo Feng's eyes, those who devoured living beings wantonly were scum. Seeing the intelligence, I have murderous intentions. I have never heard how strong his mind is. Let's see if he can block my elemental arts. Luo Feng thought that at this point, it was no big deal to use elemental arts on the Chaos Realm. First of all, elemental arts is unique as a supreme secret. It is difficult to judge that I have elemental arts if I am the only one who knows the characteristics of elemental arts. Moreover, as a Chaos Realm transcendent, it was not a big deal for him to master a supreme secret by chance. According to what Luo Feng knew, Yuan had left many opportunities, but most of them were monopolized by the two ancient countries. It's really difficult to completely kill a top Chaos Realm master. Even I have to rely on the elemental array technique. Luo Feng secretly sighed. No wonder the God Kings are reluctant to accept the mission. I am good at close combat, and I can annihilate the enemy with one move. But the enemy has all kinds of life-saving secrets, such as resurrection by dripping blood and resurrection by borrowing a carrier. No matter how good I am at close combat, I can't threaten the resurrection carrier hidden somewhere in the origin continent. The great Saint Beiyu of Qinji Icefield is tall and has a huge hairy head. He walked leisurely in the harsh wilderness, looking at the city ahead. There are enough practitioners in this city. The great Saint Beiyu looked at the food he cultivated and was very greedy. Devouring practitioners is not only a hobby, but also a way of practice for the great Saint Beiyu. It can help him comprehend the origin of life. There are also some Chaos Realm and God Kings in the origin of life in the origin continent. Among them, there are some who pity weak lives, such as Luo Feng, and there are also some big demons who regard countless lives as practice materials, such as the Snow Realm Ancestor and the Great Saint Beiyu. This lineage may not be strong in head-on combat, but they generally have strong ability to preserve their lives. Dad, I've become a real god. A young girl excitedly rushed out of the classroom and said to her parents. Big sister is so awesome. The second brother and third sister, who were all children, surrounded the girl and cheered. The living environment in the Qinji ice field is harsh, and it is much more difficult to obtain cultivation resources. The bloodline cultivation system needs various resources the most, and it will be difficult to make progress without resources. The parents also smiled happily when they looked at their eldest daughter. The key to the eldest daughter's breakthrough was that her father went outside the city at risk to kill strange beasts and obtained the blood essence of the strange beasts. I will work hard to become the true god of the void, and then I can take good care of my father, mother, younger brother, and younger sister, the girl said with fighting spirit. Okay, from now on, I'll rely on you to buy a cave." The parents smiled happily. "That's enough. You can enjoy it." At this moment, the great sage Bayu, who was standing in the wild, looked at the city and suddenly opened his mouth and rumbled. Countless creatures in the city suddenly saw an extremely huge head appear above the city. The head was so big that the creatures in the city could hardly see the whole picture. The bloody mouth of the hairy head had completely covered the sky above the city. "No, what is this? Help, Bayu great sage, help!" Countless practitioners were in panic, and some even shouted to Bayu great sage for help. Because Bayu great sage always devoured a city, and there were no rumors of him devouring living beings in his territory. Because with his strength, once he found out about this rumor, he would quickly devour those who spread it. Invisible waves of terror enveloped the entire city, sweeping across the entire city, and all living beings flew towards the bloody mouth that covered the sky. Father, mother, brother, sister, and the girl who had just become a true god were panicking and trying to hold on to their loved ones, but their family was swept away and could not reunite at all. They could only despair. Looking at each other, the face of the great sage Bayu was full of satisfaction on his huge head. He was obsessed with this kind of devouring. Suddenly, a trace of surprise appeared in his eyes. Because he found a man in black in the wild. This man in black walked out of the void. He was the size of an ordinary cultivator. The great Saint Bayu, who was now larger than the entire city, looked at the man in black as if he was a tiny person. But he was trembling in his heart, because he recognized at a glance that the man in front of him was the great Saint Luo He in the intelligence. He was a guest official of the ancient country of Yangfeng. The Chaos Realm transcendent existence. Luo Feng saw this scene and without saying anything, he used the Lai Yuan technique. The great sage Bayu found that everything in front of him disappeared. He could not see the great sage Luo He, nor could he feel himself. In the world he could see, there was only an endless and majestic star. This incomparably huge star is Luo Feng's spiritual will, composed of the Yuanshu technique and condensed with power. At this moment, it rolled in and crushed the spiritual will of Bayu great sage. The spiritual will was annihilated in an instant, without any room for resistance. The great Bible of Bayu has lived through a long time and has the will of the peak of the Chaos Realm. Even if he encounters a God King, the will of the God King can usually only suppress him. It is rare for the God King to kill him with his will. But at this moment, his mind was completely annihilated. The huge Bayu Daosheng in the sky lost consciousness and began to fall. Countless people who were swept away lost their power and began to fall towards the city below. Buzz. Luo Feng waved his hand and collected the body of Bayu great sage. His mind and will were still in the realm of chaos. Luo Feng was completely certain after the fight that as long as he was in the chaos realm, he could still kill with a single thought by relying on the element technique. The peak of the chaos realm to the God King level was a qualitative change. The God King level will combined with the element technique could sweep away all the chaos realm will powerful people. But the difference between the first and second levels of the Divine King realm is not that big, even if you rely on the most of the element technique, it is just suppression. The element technique is already very powerful. Luo Feng knew very well that it was extremely difficult to completely kill a cultivator who could not even reincarnate. It was very rare to completely kill with one's will, and it required a very high will. Normal will secret techniques were not as powerful as the Lai Yuan technique. There were generally two ways to completely kill in the origin continent. One is the causal path. Even if it is the causal path, the practitioner needs to have a huge advantage in strength to use the causal path to instantly exterminate all the resurrection carriers of the opponent. The other is the soul path, which is the most difficult to practice. The strong on the soul path can directly kill the opponent, and the soul can naturally be completely killed. But the soul path is not in the supreme rules. His path must rely on his own exploration and growth in the darkness. It is also recognized as the most difficult path to cultivate. Countless practitioners fell from the sky and landed in the city. The father, mother, and the girl also gathered with their parents, second brother and third sister. They were terrified and confused. Looking up at the sky, countless practitioners in the city were scared after landing. Looking up at the sky, the huge bloody mouth in the sky had disappeared. After killing the great sage Bayu, we got a complete corpse which can be used as food for Morosa. Luo He has already traveled through the void and started heading towards the ancient kingdom of Yang Feng. This video will end here.